Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. So today's video, as I had mentioned in my previous video, I want to discuss John 3:16 and also a few other scriptures that go along with what I'm going to tell you. So yeah, first off, John 3:16, where it says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life." I'm also going to read 17 as well. "For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but in order that the world might be saved through him." Okay, so the world would be saved through him. Now, I had mentioned that there was obviously a battle that ensued once basically one of the counterparts of Source in physical form rebelled, basically rebelled against God. Because as I said, the true God or source is a feminine energy, and that feminine energy can split into masculine and feminine energies because it is composed of both. That is just the way it is. So obviously, this one who rebelled is ruling this world and has been ruling this world for ages and ages. And I spoke about hiding evidence, acting like it doesn't exist, destroying what you can, changing what does exist. So it then basically will elevate you and give you a personality that you truly do not have and a title that does not belong to you. And this is exactly what has happened in the Bible, especially the Old Testament. That was not one that was basically promoting true worship as far as source and Jesus, what they stood for, which is love. And that is very obvious from just what you read. So, obviously, there was a need for these ones that were created not from a place of love, but for selfish reasons to basically be redeemed. Them as well as the ones that strayed that at one point were made in love. Okay. So it's not just one thing, it's multiple things at once. So I had mentioned bloodlines in some other videos, and I also mentioned the harvest time. All of that ties into John 3:16 and 17. So basically, what had to occur is source, because the thing with energy is it has always existed in a certain amount. And once you have things created, you cannot just make more energy. You can transfer it and transmute it into other things, but you're not going to just poof out of nowhere create energy. You can create matter, which is not energy. It is not the same, especially as the life force energy. Now, source is that life force energy. So that energy is very specific. It's authentic, original. It can't be replicated. So, in order to save this world, which was basically sent into chaos by this rebel and the ones that sided with him, Source had to give up her only begotten offspring. They say son, but when I describe the word in another video, it's not just a masculine energy. The word actually is one energy which splits just like source, because the word is the physical manifestation of source. Hopefully that makes sense. So, like in John 1:1, it said, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, It really should say it. And without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and life was the light of men. Okay? Life, light. And in it was in men. Okay? Now, if you create basically men without light, these ones have no life. The best way for me to describe this is they do not have that eternal light energy, that spark, that life. They can create, they can be automated, but it would be considered more of a biologic, which many can relate to that as being like a humanoid. It is like a human, but not the original blueprint that source, via means of the word, that split, created. Okay? So that's why also in John chapter 1:14, it had also mentioned that the word became flesh and dwelt among us. And we have seen, we could say once again, it says his, but its glory. Glory as of the only Son or offspring from the Father, full of grace and truth. Okay? So, in order to help humanity, these ones that were not created in love, basically, were not created in light. Basically, Source had to give up that offspring, which was the heart of herself, that offspring. I hope that makes sense. In like other writings, like the Gnostic Gospels, this word would be considered the Godhead. So, yeah. Basically, in order to help these ones, you had to have a way to genetically make them divine. And there's only one way to do that. There's only one way to do that. So it's a process, but basically you would have to have become human in order to have children amongst the population, in order to give them that life, that light, that eternal spark. But you can't do it all at once. It has to be like kind of sown so it spreads. Kind of like when you garden, you want things to be able to flourish and then kind of the best way to describe it is like perennials. There's perennials that come up year after year, but they get bigger and spread each cycle that comes about. So that would be the same way with the offspring of Source. But as I said with energy, once you give out this energy and transfer it, that life energy, okay, you cannot get it back. It is gifted, basically. So by giving up this offspring, it meant that Source, as well as the offspring, could no longer exist in their former energy because they had given it cycle after cycle to others. So, sorry. Okay. So basically, through this death, which basically meant that Source no longer existed in the previous energetic state. So through this death, this brought new life. Now that is love. And the best way I can describe this from a God of love, you have beings that may not be something that you created your own, but you adopted them and you love them so much. And to know that they are not divine, they are not eternal. But when they die, that's it. But these are living beings that physically were taken from some genetic material of the original humans that are eternal, do have that light or life energy, and they were specifically created to be slaves. But they're beautiful. The best way to describe it is those of you who've had pets, you didn't create them yourself, you didn't have them yourself, but you love them. You take care of them. But you have to watch them sometimes suffer and die. And that's all there is. You don't know what happens to them after that. Are they going to go on? Are they going to come back? That's just an example, but it would be like that. You love something so much, but you can't keep it from dying permanently because it didn't have that divine light energy to begin with. So you give up yourself in order to make sure that they have it. But because you do that, you can no longer be what you previously were. So, in effect, that is this death that Source gave up. Okay. But by doing this, those offspring basically became heirs of Source and the true Father. Okay. I knew this would be hard for me. It's kind of like how when I was talking about the flood experience, how I was very emotional because it's like happening all over again. The emotions. So yeah. But that's why in Galatians chapter 4, verses 4 through 7, it reads, "But when the fullness of time had come, God sent forth his Son, born of woman, born under the law, to redeem those who were under the law." This law of slavery, not the law of love, so that we might receive adoption as sons. Now remember here, this is not gender. It's sons, daughters, whatever. So, to redeem those who were under the law, so that we might receive adoption as sons. And because you are sons, God has sent the Spirit of his Son into our hearts, crying, "Abba, Father." So you are no longer a slave, but a son or a daughter. And if a son, then an heir through God. So because now these ones are heirs of God, basically, if you take it in a physical sense, they are blood relatives of Yeshua, and not just Yeshua, but many of the avatars that he or the word, this offspring, took as splits, age after age after age after age, in order to accomplish Source's will. Because no one was supposed to be created as a slave. Okay, Matthew 25, 35 through 40. And this is basically talking about because the offspring of Source made this sacrifice. And now so many are related and part of Source, Christ, God, by doing good to others. Well, I'll read it. So Matthew 25, 35 through 40. And it says, "For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me." Then the righteous will answer him, saying, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you a drink? And when did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and visit you?" And the king will answer them, "Truly, I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers, you did it to me." So, to treat these offspring in a positive manner would be as if treating Christ in the same way because of that connection now. Now, I had also mentioned the harvest and the gathering work, which is in Matthew chapter 13, 36, because a certain amount of time needed to go by because obviously the one that rebelled against God continuously puts his own energies amongst humanity in order to create chaos, disorder, um, to block unity, all of these things. So, this is what it was speaking about when it talks about the parable of the weeds, when it says, "Then he left the crowds and went into the house, and his disciples came to him, saying, 'Explain to us the parable of the weeds of the field.' He answered, 'The one who sows the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, and the good seed is the sons of the kingdom. The weeds are the sons of the evil one, and the enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are angels. Just as the weeds are gathered and burned with fire, so will it be at the end of the age. The Son of Man will send his angels, and they will gather out of his kingdom all causes of sin and all lawbreakers, and throw them into the fiery furnace. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears, let him hear." Okay, so now you understand this harvest time that I was also speaking about, where you let everyone grow together. And yes, in order for all of them to grow together, you have to provide for your offspring as well as the offspring of the evil one or Satan's offspring. It doesn't seem fair, but it's necessary to carry out the purpose of Source, because Source literally gave up so much to make sure that everyone could be free. Okay. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to say about that. So basically, there are the ones on this earth right now who are direct blood descendants of Source, who were not at first. And now you can see why, because they do have this divine energy, why these malevolent forces strive to control these ones. Imagine having the power, the energy of source within all of these human individuals. And if you can get them to forget who they are, not know who they are, you can use that powerful God energy to create your own world. Because that essentially is source energy, that life, that creation, that ability to create. Now, you bestowed these ones with this gift, and these others come along and try and take it and use it for their own selfish reasons. I'm just trying to make you see what's going on around you so that you take your power back and stop letting these ones exploit such a precious energy that you contain. Because so much was given up, sacrificed for you to be here in this moment. And it would be a waste of what Source gave up if you do not take the power into your own hands at this point. Okay? So when I'll go back to the memorial, this celebration basically that Jehovah's Witnesses do every year, basically glorifying the death of Jesus, which now that I've explained to you, the death basically meant that Source, via the word, could no longer exist in the previous energetic state that it previously existed in. So, this black mass, this demonic celebration, not only is glorifying child sacrifice, which we know is something that a God of love would never want or require from anyone who is in that new commandment that Jesus had said of love. This is where the light, once you know it, exposes the darkness, okay? So memorial's not only glorifying child sacrifice, but it's getting these ones who attend to disown that connection to Source, basically, via the word, via the offspring of Source, which includes Yeshua or Jesus, to reject or disown that connection and replace Jehovah, basically accepting Jehovah as your father instead of the true father. Okay? And these so-called anointed ones, those 8 demons that are helping to run Watchtower, partake in these emblems, not because they are, brothers of Christ or whatever, but because by them physically having this symbolic eating of the flesh and drinking of the blood, they themselves are basically becoming him and putting themselves in Jesus's place. Now you understand why they lyingly claim to be the mouthpiece for God, which their God is Satan. Make no mistake about it. Jehovah, this God that they worship and kind of take the attention off of Jesus, is Satan. This is why they are able to do the things that they do, why there is no love in their doctrines and policies, whether it is shunning, it is blood, it is the pedophilia that goes unpunished. They actually pat these ones on the back and shield them. It is because of the God they worship. So these ones partaking of these emblems, it is a physical symbol that they have erased the true Father, Jesus, Source, and are basically taking on the physical body of Jesus Christ. which is a representation of source. Now, hopefully all of this was clear to you, but I will explain probably in my next video why, yes, why we go back to the Father. And basically, yeah, I'll explain it in my next video because even this video was a lot for me to get out, and it's very disturbing because it's like I see so much exploitation done. And as I said, these ones, like the governing body members, even the elders, and it goes down the line. They know what they're doing. This is not a mistake. These are what, as I had mentioned in James, these are actual sins. These are ones who are sinning against the Holy Spirit. They know better, 100% aware, but they do it anyway for their own selfish reasons. Pride, ego, prominence, you name it. That is something that will not be looked at lightly. That's all I have to say. But in my next video, I will explain the whole relationship between Source, the Divine Mother, the Universal Mother, and also the true Father. Okay? So, yeah, that's it. I hope you're all doing well. I know there is kind of a heavy energy that has been kind of lingering for a couple months now. You're not crazy. You're not, it's just not you. But hang in there. It's because these ones know that their time is up now. And you can pretty much bet that even, Watchtower are going to be trying to get their people to now start, instead of preaching the good news, this judgment message. Because as I said, they should have been doing it before we all came here, basically. They're too late, but they're still going to try and do it anyway. But that's another story. All right. I will talk to you all in my next video. I love you very much. I love you unconditionally, as you want to put it. I love you as you are. Okay. Peace be with you. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.